is here. Tara, do you mind being in it?
Nope.
Yay! Ah! Ooh, today's a good day. Oh, Jesus.
The tapas.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so it's been a little bit. This
Mm-hmm.
is my sunshine Tara. I'm about to turn the
Hello.
lights off in the car, so it's about to be dark as fuck in here because it's like 9 o'clock at night, and now the sun finally set. But today I just wanted to start off with our faces in it, just real quick, because we're gonna talk about. We were just we were just having a moment. We were watching, what was it, Young Pharaoh's video
Yeah.
about what was it, the Jesus Christ
Effects.
and the Jesus Christ effect,
Yeah.
and sacrificing for others. It was a very good video.
Mm-hmm.
Can you remind me to put it in the description when we're done?
Yes.
Thank you. Um, yeah, because I'm not gonna remember.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna remember to do it later. I don't like anything after. I don't recall. Like, who said that I was gonna do that? Who said that?
You.
If you could please remind me, I would really appreciate
Listen, I'm
it.
putting it in my notes right now.
I love you. Thank
Woo,
you.
love you too.
Um, so yeah, we were watching that video. It was a very interesting video. Definitely go watch it. And one of the things that really stood out to me, because I feel like we've been talking on and off about the victim abuser dynamic and loyalty and,
Mm-hmm.
subservience and things of that nature, and friendships and relationships, and like how these things work. Um, and just as because we're trying to become more spiritually aware,
Mm-hmm.
not trying, we are becoming more spiritually aware, more
Yes.
conscious, tapping into our true selves more, understanding ourselves more and our needs and the needs of those around us, but at the same time understanding like the real truths about the world, and the untruths that we were taught, and it's taking a lot of the conditioning that we've been brought up under and tearing that down,
Mm-hmm.
ripping that out and purging it ourselves clear of it, and putting something else there, putting something else in its place.
Mm-hmm.
um and one thing that's been coming up a lot is the whole victim abuser dynamic, as well as loyalty, because loyalty is one of those things where you hear everybody talking about, oh, this person ain't loyal, this person ain't loyal, that person ain't loyal. We've got some controversial opinions today.
We really do. We really do,
But
though.
you know what? The fact of the matter is, like, you can't really argue with us on it, because, well, argue with your mama, not me. Um, really, but you can't really
Energy.
argue, because it's like you really got to take what we say and like decipher out what is true to you, what resonates with you, and what doesn't. But don't just take it at face value and be like, oh, they're full of shit, like this, that, and the third, just because that's what you grew up on knowing. Like, I'm sorry, but your parents were taught a lie, your grandparents were taught a lie, and they continued that onto you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can find out the truth. You can't say we never told you, because we did, but if you want to live in a lie, you can, but just know that you have a choice to live in a
Mm-hmm.
lie or not.
There you go.
In the age of information, ignorance is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in the age of Aquarius, the age of information, so ignorance is a choice.
There you go.
So let's start off with definitions of
Yes.
loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have you look up some other stuff soon in a second.
Heard.
Apologies in advance.
So starting with allegiance.
No, let's
No,
start with
start with
loyalty.
loyalty.
What is loyalty?
The quality of being loyal to someone or something, which is also a strong feeling of support or allegiance. And upon the definition of allegiance,
Wait,
loyalty or
let's read loyal first, and then
loyal, giving or showing firm and constant support or
firm
allegiance
and
to a person or institution.
firm and constant support or allegiance to a person or institution.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna read the allegiance, because, like,
Yo.
like, I'm dramatic as fuck. I'm dramatic as fuck. Allegiance.
Allegiance.
Alle- Allegiance. Allegiance.
Allegiance.
Oh, Champs-Élysées. Anyway, um, allegiance, noun, loyalty or commitment of a subordinate to a superior, or of an individual to a group or cause.
Subordinate to a superior.
Yikes. Like, when we talk about these things, have you ever looked up the definition of the things that you're requiring of people of?
Okay.
Like, have you ever thought about what that actually entails?
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time you thought about what it means for someone to be loyal to you? Like, what it takes out of them to be loyal to you? Because you know what? I'm tired of people being selfish as fucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and we all have a tendency to be selfish as fucks in certain scenarios. Like, we expect people to be able to keep up with, what it is that we're doing, or we expect people to be there for us in certain times. We expect. We'll go out of our way and we'll sacrifice for people. And this is young Pharaoh really touched on this video, and I'm so grateful that someone really showed me his videos today, because that was what started this video. It was immediately after we were like, okay, well, we're gonna record a video.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Exactly.
um should I move off the street? I'm not gonna move.
Fuck it.
Yeah, we'll stay here until we need to move, and then we'll move and keep recording. But it's just so interesting because it's like, all right, a lot of the time when people are asking you to be loyal to them, what they're really asking you for is, okay, I'm going to live my life on my terms, and I need you to ride for me. So you need to be my support,
Mm-hmm.
constantly there, my constant support. Like, you need to be there for me. Like, if I have a problem, I need to be able to call you and like get help from you. Like, this, that, and the third. Like, I should be able to call you if I'm upset, call you if I'm worried, call you if I'm happy, or if I'm stressed, this, that, and the third. Da da da. I should be able to lean on you. You're my rock. This, that, and the third. And it's like, okay, but have you taken into consideration what that person's going through?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the time people, we see it all the time. People are always fighting battles that they don't tell you about. A lot of the biggest problems that your friends will have are ones that they won't even mention to you until after the fact. So if you're living in la la land, right? You're living your life, doing whatever. You end up in a situation. And you call your friends, and they're not as gung ho to jump to help you as they had been in the past, because maybe they have some stuff going on. And one thing I want to mention, like, nobody's required to give you anything. Nobody's required to tell you anything about their life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
nobody is required to do that at all. Like, whether they're your friend or not. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you're married to that person, that's a different story. Like, of course you're gonna want to know their background, certain information, because it's, what you don't know will hurt you in that sense. It can and will hurt you. But when it comes to friendship, every bill that they're paying, like, every no, that's not love. Like, I know somebody taught you that that was love. I know somebody taught you that that was one of the highest forms of love, but that's not real love. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you, the only person I feel like I would do that for is my child, and that's parenting. That's not love, that's obligation. Like, that's, you came out of my body, and it is my duty to make sure that you come up in the ways, in the best way that I know how. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's obligation, that's not love. Like, love
That's
comes with
true.
that, but there are a lot of parents who are obligated to their kids and they don't love them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't show you love, they don't show you any respect, they don't show you that they care about you on a basic level. They don't show you that they care about, like, your emotions, your emotional aspect, your fears, your insecurities. They just show, okay, well, what are you doing to put you on the path that I told you to be on?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it can be seen as a sign of disloyalty to your parents to go outside of the path that they wanted you to go on. But their path isn't, the path that they chose is not necessarily the one that you are supposed to be on.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? So it's like, that may not even be your path in the first place. So you being disloyal to them is you actually being loyal to yourself. Like, do you see what I'm like?
Exactly.
Where does the buck stop? Because who are you supposed to be loyal to only outside forces, or to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can be loyal to outside forces and then end up in a situation where you're loyal to somebody who's abusing you. Now, it doesn't have to be like you're dating them and they're beating your ass. Like, it's, it can be one of those things where it's like, it's mental abuse, financial abuse, it can be emotional abuse. Like, this person makes you feel like, oh, this is the only person that cares about me, and nobody else is going to give a fuck about me as much as they do. You'll bring people into your life and introduce them to this person, be like, oh yeah, this is my friend, this, that, and the third, and they'll wreak havoc, they'll cause ruckus, they'll cause issues that weren't even existing, like
Mm-hmm.
problems that you didn't even have these problems, and then this person decided to create these problems just to show that they should have a stronger place in your life than anyone else. Like, it's a very slippery slope. It's a very slippery slope. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't subscribe to that. I don't feel like I need to be held down or tied down or locked down to any one person in a friendship sense, or even in a like even just in a relational sense in general, just relating to different people. Like, I don't feel the need to be I don't feel the need to say, oh, this person is, the end all be all for what have you. This person is the person I call for everything. Like, I feel like it's important to be able to call on yourself. Like, it's important to be able to do things for yourself. It's important to be able to go within and learn what it is that you really truly desire. Because a lot of the time you'll be hanging out with people, or you'll be around people, you're doing this, that, and the third. Even if you're helping this person, like, that could be deviating you from the path that you're supposed to be on.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, it's like you may hit brick wall after brick wall after brick wall after brick wall, supporting all these different people, and feel absolutely miserable, absolutely drained in yourself,
Exactly.
you know? And then a lot of the time, the issue that we end up coming into is that a lot of the time when these people get on their feet, it's like, okay, they want to try to help, but they don't know how to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they can't actually help you because all the shit that they would have said to you already said to them. So you already know that shit. Like, if you're that person, and this is not to say don't be that person, but it's to say, like, put it into perspective exactly what it is that you're doing, and then decide what you want to do from there. Like, if you're that person, right? And you're the person who, in your group of friends, that was definitely me. Like, somebody calls when they're going through a really rough night, like their mental health issues are going ham, like they just need somebody to talk to. Just talk them out off of the cliff that they're on in their mind. Okay. Now, that's not a bad thing to do for your friends. Like, if it's not a bad thing to do, but here's where the slope gets slippery. Okay, you can be that person, and maybe they'll call you twice that week because they're going through a breakup with their boyfriend, or maybe they'll call you 4 or 5 times that week. Maybe they'll call you every fucking day, and now you're trying to help this person sort through these issues, right? You're helping them sort through these issues and sort through them. Maybe you help them for a couple of months. And then at the end of that period, they're feeling so much better. They're happier. They're lighter. They're overjoyed. They're living their best life. They're excited. Life is good. Life is good. And then you hit a depression stage. You hit a stage where your anxiety is through the roof and you can't even leave your house because you just feel crazy. Like, you really just feel like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I don't feel safe anywhere I am. Like, a lot of that is like, you may have absorbed the energy of the person that you were speaking to, that you were connecting to, because a lot of the time, especially people who are very empathetic, we do that. Like, we'll take on other people's energy as our responsibility. It's like, your pain is my responsibility now. I have to help you heal. And that requirement is where shit gets dicey, because it's like, when turnabout comes around, it's like, all the advice that you gave to this person is not even going to help you now because you know it already. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't know why you feel like this. You don't know how to even sort through why you feel like this. And especially if it's becoming because of a person, or because of a series of, like, people doing certain things to you. Like, it's hard to even talk about it with those same people who drain so much out of you. So it's hard to even get reciprocation out of it. It's hard to even get that same amount out of it because they can't help you. They don't have the tools to help you. You should have been helping yourself the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
The tools that you need to succeed with are all within yourself. you know every every person has what they need. You just have to know what questions to answer. You have all the answers, but what are the questions? you know like, I could give you a cheat sheet of quiz answers, but that wouldn't help you. You can't study that. Number 1 is blue, number 2 is sapphire, number 3 is 42 degrees north, 78 degrees west. Like, what's the question?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the question? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what you have to figure out for yourself. What is the question? What am I missing? What am I not getting? Like, what what reality? Because a lot of what depression is, I've noticed, is it's seeing reality and not knowing what to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? It's that feeling of damn, I feel like I see the world and it's doing this and they're doing this and they're doing this and they're doing this and this is going on and this is going on and they're doing this and they're doing this over here and they're doing that over here. And it's like, is that a cop? I can't tell. No, I don't think so. Um, it's like they're doing this, they're doing that. And at the end of the day, wait, what was I saying? I'm sorry.
We were talking about, it's crazy because I was listening to, we were talking about how we can take on somebody else's emotions when we're trying to help them through things. We can try
Yeah.
to find out where it's coming from, but we already know the answers. We're still wondering why we feel that way.
Yes. So a lot of the time, what'll happen is that we'll be in a situation and we're trying to figure out why we're so fucking miserable doing the shit that everybody else is doing. Or you see everybody else trying to work through, or somehow it's harder for you, and your parents or your grandparents are just like, push through it, push through it, push through it. Like, you just got to keep going, you just got to keep going. And it's like, keep going in what? Like, have you ever stopped and paused and thought about what it is that you're doing? Why
Mm-hmm.
it is that you're doing? Because a lot of the time when you stop and think about it, you're like, this shit is pointless. This shit is pointless. I feel like a waste of space. I feel like the world would not be better or worse without me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like all the shit I'm doing is not going to turn out or amount to anything, you know? And a lot of that is the heavy feeling. It's like feeling like you're not worth, especially as a parent, as a child of immigrants, like feeling like you're not worth the sacrifice that your parents and grandparents made to get you to this point. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God. And it's like, okay, but why do you feel that way? Like, why do you feel like the world is not worth it? Why do you feel like the world is still toxic? Like, why do you feel like that? Like, what do you, why do you feel like that? And a lot of what it is we have to get, what's the word I'm looking for? Practical about it. Because the thing about depression is that it's not practical. We understand this because you get depressed and you don't want to get out of bed and go to work for the job that's paying for your car. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of the time, some of us will go anyway. A lot of us will go anyway, just because it affects everybody differently. Like, for me personally, I couldn't go to school, I couldn't think, like I couldn't actually read. Like, I was disassociating so bad that I couldn't actually read textbooks. Like, I couldn't read and understand a sentence. Like, I could not do it. But I could go to work. Like, I went to work and I was just like a zombie. Like, but you don't really have to do much to, you know it's not really that much to be a cashier. As long as you know the math, you punch the numbers in the fucking register, you scan shit, you fold it, like take off the tags, like fold tables, like you can do this shit in your sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the whole time I was just there like, I don't know, because the way that my life was going, it felt like I was working so hard to get nowhere. I was working just to waste time. I felt like there was so much more that I could have been doing and I wasn't doing it, and I was so frustrated and I didn't understand why. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand like what it is that I should have been doing instead. I didn't understand what it is that I could have been doing instead. I didn't understand what my options were. And that's where the feeling of helplessness and hopelessness came, because it's like I really felt like, because I felt this strongly about this, that this was never going to end. Like, this was never going to, there was never going to be, I'm going to turn off the light, that there was never going to be a resolution to this pain. Like, because I was feeling my pain, I was feeling the pain of so many people, like just hopelessness, helplessness. Like, I felt stuck, I felt stagnant. Like, I wasn't, like, everybody around me was experiencing and they were living and they were breathing and they were so happy and excited and just enjoying their best life, and I was there doing all the same stuff as them, and I just felt like empty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. And it's like, if you're being told by everyone around you that this is something you're supposed to be finding fulfillment in, when you don't, like, that's a heavy blow.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, well, what would I find fulfillment in? And then you try something else, and the depressed feelings keep coming back. Like, you're going and listening to alternative rock music or screamo, and like you're fucking listening to R&B people wailing about just everything. Like,
Exactly.
and it's just like, you're there and you keep going through these emotions, you keep going through these cycles, you keep going through this pain, and it's like, all of it is really because you don't know what it is that you're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have a purpose, but if you don't see yours, that doesn't mean that it's not there, you know? Just because you don't see the yellow brick road in the Wizard of Oz does not mean that it's not there. Like, that shit popped up as soon as you thought of it. Like, as soon as you
Mm-hmm.
passed the challenge, you were like, where's the road? You got to stop, you got to do some shit, you got to figure out where it is that you're going. Once you redefine where it is that you're going again, okay, you got somebody else or you got something new to take with you along the journey, and now the path appears again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard. Like, you really have to fight to stay in that headspace. Like, if you're very sensitive, like if you're depressed, and by headspace I mean, I want to be very specific about what I mean by that. Like, being depressed is not easy. Like, it's a constant weight on you. Even when you think you're having a good day, all of a sudden you can be out having the best day of your life, literally doing the things that make you the happiest, and you will still come home, and 5 minutes after doing whatever it is that you're doing, or in the middle of doing it, whatever it is that you're doing, you will still feel miserable and wonder why. You know, when you're losing interest in the things that made you the happiest. Is that thunder?
I hope so.
I love
I think I saw lightning. I could be. Oh no, that was lightning. Hey.
it. It's lit. um but yeah, when you're depressed and you're going through all this stuff, it's like, listen, at the end of it, at the end of the day, what you need to find is your purpose, your true path. And the only way to find that is by listening to yourself. Your mother, your grandmother, your therapist, your therapist can help you find the way. But remember, the therapist, their job is just to help you look at the situation that's in front of you. They don't give you any answers. They just help you re-look at the plate that you have in front of you and see how you can work and move things around in a way that's going to function better for you. So it's like, remember that post we were seeing on Facebook the other day where it was like, oh, if you're depressed and it's hard for you to eat because you can't, like, you don't want to get up and make food, and you want to do this, like, you don't want to make a sandwich because it's like all this, this process of doing things. And it's like, oh, well, why don't you just take the meat and the cheese and roll it together and just eat that? You know,
Mm-hmm.
do something simple like that. If you don't want to take a shower in the bathroom because you have body dysmorphia, you're so or you're fearful of the way that your body looks, or it makes you anxious, or you have an eating disorder, take a shower in the dark. That's simple. Take a shower in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like your fear, like what fear, what's holding you back, because you looked at it from a different perspective, now no longer holds you back. Like, you're free to do what it is that you need to. You're free to live your life the way that you want to, or a little bit more like you want to. And granted, like, there's nothing wrong with being abnormal. There's nothing wrong with being abnormal, because normal in this society is severely ill. If we're being completely honest, normal in this society is severely ill. Like, it's sick as fuck. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that shit is weird. But, like, I don't know, the people who can sit through all these different things and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do all this stuff, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and they never have issues. Yo, I look at them like they're fucking robots. Like, I'm sorry,
Yo.
but do you feel this energy? Do you feel this shit? Like, are you tuned in? Are you tapped in? Because that's the thing, like, we feel so much, we'll feel so much, and we won't consciously realize it because we were taught so early on to just ignore shit. Like, nah, you're being weird, you're being crazy, like, just keep going, like, do what you gotta do. But you'll notice, even in, like, for me, I notice, like, my shoulders right now are so relaxed because we just came from the beach. I'm with my friend, I'm calm, I'm happy, I'm relaxed. I'm sober as a judge, but okay, like, I'm calm, I'm happy, I'm relaxed. My shoulders are not tense. Well, they're not as tense as they were before, but there's only so much we can do. But
Mm-hmm.
if I was at work, I promise you my shoulders would be hard as rocks, because that's what happens when I go to work. That's what happens when I'm in that environment. That's what happens when I'm around people that I shouldn't be around. My shoulders get tense, my arms get tense, my legs get tense. Like, I'm constantly cracking my fingers and my toes. Like, I can't. I'm stiff. And what that is my body saying that it's uncomfortable in the place that I'm in. because when I'm in other places, I don't have those same responses. When I'm in other places, what'll end up happening to me is soreness and aches from my muscles being so tight. So my body is still telling me when a situation is not for me. But if my mind does not recognize the signs and I don't listen, then, of course it's going to look like mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
Of course it's going to look like PTSD. It's going to look like anxiety. It's going to look like depression, because in reality I'm not listening to my body. So of course it looks like a mental illness because my mind is not actually reading the signals from my body correctly. You know? And that's the thing, like that's what that a lot of the time I feel like that's what that is. It's like our bodies are telling us what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Our soul is telling us what's going on, and we choose not to listen. you know like the one job that I always got panic attacks at was one I shouldn't have been at. Like, granted, I went there for a reason, I served my purpose and I left, but I knew it was time to go once I started having panic attacks every Monday that God sent. Like,
Mm-hmm.
going into work and get a write up by 5 o'clock. Like, okay, for nothing, for being a minute late.
Mm-hmm. And
But
that ties back into the topic of being loyal to yourself, like, or what
exactly,
loyalty really is, and where you should be putting that. Because when you're,
exactly.
and when you're obligated to like to these people and to these jobs and things, and you start sacrificing yourself, you see that drainage, and you have to. And like Leslie said, it's hard. It's hard to like stay in that, to
Mm,
stay loyal to yourself first, to stay like devoted to yourself first. But it's like something you have to learn. Like, it's
mm,
something you have to it's something you have to put on yourself. Like, you have to get rid of this idea of obligation to others,
mm.
of living your life for others and like satisfying other people, because it's just not that's not what loyalty is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be
No.
to others. It's not You're supposed to love people, but not to devote yourself, every part of you, to them.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, if you devote every part of yourself to other people, what's left for you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't pour out of an empty cup. So it's like, what do you leave for yourself? Who's filling you back up?
Mm-hmm.
Because I guarantee you, if you're that person that's pouring out into everybody else, there are not enough people pouring back into you.
Exactly.
Point blank, period. Like, I can guarantee you that right now. Like, promise you all the money in my bank account, which is not a
Mm-hmm.
lot right now. That's okay. It's coming.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's a lot in 5 minutes. Um, it's a lot in 5 minutes. Accidental direct deposit to my account. Sorry, the money's already spent. I don't know what to tell you.
TBH.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm playing. But I hate when I do that because I forget what I was talking about.
We were talking about loyalty to yourself,
Yes.
devotion to yourself. Yeah.
Okay. There we go. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
sorry. I keep forgetting everything. But all right. So with loyalty to self and to others, it's like, what are you holding for yourself? Like, do you nurture yourself? Do you nourish yourself? Have you ever taken a step back and given the love that you give to other people to yourself? Like, I think I had about like I would say like 4 or 5 days where I did this. I think last earlier this week or last week or some, I don't know. It was at some point in the last like 2 3 months where I was just by myself for like 4 days, and I was just living my best life.
Mm-hmm.
I was having my fun. I was listen, my music comes on in the car. Nobody can tell me that I cannot have the same song on repeat for an entire 40-minute drive because bitch, it's just me in the car. So if
Exactly.
I'm jamming out, I'm having a good ass time, I'm going to work renewed,
Mm-hmm.
refreshed, happy, excited, joyful, jubilant. Fucking how many synonyms can I throw in that?
Mm-hmm.
But
Ecstatic.
yes, elated.
Elated. Yes.
I was gonna say orgasmic, but that's something else.
Mm-hmm.
But moving right along, it's like when you take that time to nourish yourself, like what is it that you do for others that they always thank you for after, and they feel so nourished, they feel so loved, they feel so nurtured after? Do that for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go cuddle up with somebody and just cuddle with them and watch movies? Bitch, cuddle yourself and watch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Cuddle up, get a full body pillow or a couple of pillows and a long ass pillowcase and just cuddle with that shit. Put a heating pad in that bitch. Like, you're lit. You're
Mm-hmm.
fucking lit. Make yourself some hot chocolate. Listen, nobody could tell you not to make it with the half and half because Nobody's gonna be there smelling your fucking breath. It does not matter. Like, listen, you want to go have a Whopper at Burger King, and that's your fucking cheat day. That's you're treating yourself to a fucking Whopper from Burger King because that's what you got money for this week. Bitch, go off. Get extra onion rings.
Mm-hmm.
Get extra onion rings in this bitch. Go eat that shit by yourself and be happy as fuck. Mindful
Exactly.
eating. Like, be happy. Live your best life with that shit. Because at the end of the day, speak forward. Because at the end of the day, you're by yourself. You're with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're at your own side. You're at your own bedside table. Like, you're there with yourself. Like, you're the one who's watching the movie with you. I hate when people park up right fucking behind me. Like, okay, but it's whatever. It's whatever. But and then with loyalty to self versus loyalty to a job, I can give an example of this with that job um, that I was working at that gave me the panic attacks. Like, there was a point where I had I had there was just a lot going on for me that year. I wasn't speaking my truth. I had a throat chakra blockage, I guess, and I had tonsillitis 6 times that year.
Yo.
Like, wow, it was crazy. But one time I got it so badly at this job that I was working that I actually had to call out of work for like 4 or 5 days. And I couldn't even call out of work. I had to have my grandmother call because I had no voice. I was working at a call center. I had no voice whatsoever. My tonsils were so swollen I could barely drink water. Like, it was so bad. I was taking the antibiotics for like 4 or 5 days before I actually saw a difference. Like, it was horrendous. And a lot of it was me not speaking my truth and also stress. And I went in there on on one of my last days to make sure that they saw, because I'd make sure that the doctor sent in a doctor's note, like they faxed over a doctor's note, but I had a physical copy just in case they wanted to act funny, and of course they did. And of course the manager that I had at the time was like, oh well, this is going to result in you having a shift change because you've been out so many days. Meanwhile, you can dead look into my fucking mouth. Not you don't need anything. You can see my tonsils from my jaw. Like, this shits were huge. Like,
Yo.
I just have to open my mouth and you see there's no back of my throat, nothing. Like, where's the back of my throat? Like, bitch, it's all tonsils. Like, like, you
Listen.
could look in, you heard, like, she came, like, I was there trying to speak. And I was like, I can do reporting, I can do something else. Like, da, da, da. I was there trying to be loyal to my job. And this woman basically just told me, like, well, it's going to result in a shift change. Like, you're going to have less money coming in now because you decided to take a couple of days off because you couldn't speak. And it's like, so you would have had me on the phone with no voice getting yelled at for 8 hours, as opposed to giving me the time off that I needed for an issue that you can clearly see with your own two eyes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like I'm bullshitting. It's not like you got a fax from my doctor's office. I'm not bullshitting. That's not bullshit. Like, go cross reference the number for the doctor's office. You can clearly see that's the doctor's office. Like, there was
Mm-hmm.
no faking in that. There was nothing to fake in that. That was me being 100% honest and genuine with my situation. And the problem is when you're being loyal to other people, it doesn't matter because they're going to act accordingly. They're gonna act accordingly. Like, whatever it is that you do, it doesn't matter your intention, it doesn't matter what you need, they're going to act according to what they need.
Exactly.
They're gonna act according to what their desires are. If you have a job, listen, a job is a job. Don't be afraid to quit a job.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came down to it, I ended up quitting in that manager's face. Like, literally, I came in like 5 minutes late and I was like, I already know. I already know. She tried to give me a write up, I quit in her face. Flat out just gave her my badge, and she walked me out. She was like, oh, we're so sad to see good people go. No, you're not. Clearly you're not. The listen, that turnover rate, that employee turnover rate clearly says that you don't feel that way. Otherwise you guys would have changed business practices, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what that is. But if I had been loyal to myself that whole time, I really would have just quit that fucking job right then and there. Like, I would have been looking for a job earlier. Like, I would have been actively pursuing something better earlier, you know? Actively pursuing something better. And then, the way my life turned out, it ended up being in a spiral effect, and I had to really, that was my last, I would say, really strong depressive episode Like that was my last suicidal episode. I know that for a fact. But that was one of my last very strong depressive episodes, and that was in like summer of 2016, seven, yeah, 16,
Mm.
16, summer of 2016. And it was a hell of a low point, but at the end of it, I had to learn to be dependent on myself. I had to learn to be faithful to myself. I had to learn to be loyal to myself, because at the end of it, I was in a situation where, I was going and I was looking for jobs and I was doing this, that, and the third. My car got totaled. I had all these bills, all these medical bills from having tonsillitis 6 times that year. Like this shit was crazy. Like this shit was honestly crazy. And at the end of the day, it's like everybody was there trying to tell me, oh, this, that, and the third. They were trying to tell me all this shit, and it was just like, yo. And these were all people that I had been there for some of them for years prior, and they couldn't really tell me shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only thing that was gonna help me in that situation was being able to get a job and go move back and forth and get back and forth. But I had just come from having my own car. So it's like you go from having a car to having to take 2 buses to get to work. Like, it, granted, everything ended up working out. Now I have my car, figured everything out. But it's like nobody in that situation was able to help me, you know? At the end of the day, at the end of it, like I really got to a point where I was at a low point. I didn't even want to live anymore, because it's like, realistically speaking, like I had these people literally begging me, please, like, please just don't, like, please just don't do that. Like, please just stay here for us. Like, but for what?
Mm.
Like, I really sat and thought about it to myself. Like, for what though? Stay with you for what? So I can be miserable and you can just be here? Like, I don't want to be a drain on the people around me constantly. Like, I don't want to be, I never wanted to be that. So it's like, when we think about that, like, um, but it's like, when you think about that, anyway, but when you think about things in those terms, it's like, it's not an act of loyalty to ask somebody to stay alive because you love them, or you love their presence, or you want them to stay alive. Because at the end of the day, like, all the people who are there constantly, like, oh well, we love you, we'll miss you, we would miss you if you died, this, that, and the third. Most of them I'm not friends with anymore. So if I stayed
Okay.
alive for them, like, I probably would be dead right now. Not
Mm-hmm.
even gonna hold you. And I deserved so much better. I had to learn, like, what I needed to do. Like, what really kept me alive was that I went through a whole, like, breakdown and all this stuff, and like, attempted suicide didn't work. I woke up from a nap. My mom was there, like, you good? And I was just like, oh. I was just really upset, and I started crying. And then I decided, well, if I did that and I'm still alive, I guess there's probably a reason. I'm probably alive for a reason. So let me figure out what that is.
To be honest.
And I was watching Lily Singh's videos on YouTube. I went through all of her fucking vlogs, and this was
Mm.
right around when she hit like 1,000, or no, it was over 1,000 vlogs that she had made. Like, she'd made like over 1,000 vlogs at that point, and I'd watched all of her vlogs from the first one literally to that summer. I watched all of her vlogs on her vlog channel, all of them,
Mm.
every single one of them. And it was just like her work ethic, her drive, her positivity. That was what pushed me. It's like, listen, you have a choice. Wake up every day and make a choice. Decide what you want and then go after it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was something about the fact that she woke up every day and was like, even if I'm not feeling good, like, I'm choosing positivity. And it was that choice. It's like that choice is what makes the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was waking up every day and I was just a slave to my emotions, my emotional state, like my depression. Like, I was a slave to all of that. But when I stood up and I was like, no, I'm choosing something different. Like, granted, depressed thoughts, like, all those things, like, they don't just go away because you choose happiness, you choose positivity. It's one of those. it becomes a habit after a while. Like those thoughts, you have to realize, are not really your own thoughts. Those are fear. Like
Mm.
that's like a fear-based fucking demon in the back of your mind, like saying what's
Mm-hmm.
good. Like that's the thing. If Jigsaw came in your room and was telling you shit, would you think that's yourself, or would you think that's Jigsaw?
Exactly.
Would you take that on as your own identity, or would you think that's Jigsaw? Like, would you think that's you, or would you think that's somebody else? Like, would you take that on as your personal feelings, or would you see that for what it is, as somebody else's emotional state trying to take dominance over yours and decide what you want to do about it? Because that's the thing. You can let other people's emotional states dominate yours if you want to, but don't say nobody told you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did. We did. So, um, but yeah, loyalty to self, it's like learning that you have value, that you have a purpose, that you
Mm-hmm.
have a mission here on earth. Like what it is not, I personally probably don't know. I maybe I could tell you if I looked at you, but I really don't know. Like, I don't know what your purpose is in life. I don't know what it is that you do better than anything else that you've ever done. Like, I don't know what it is that makes your soul feel alive, that lights your soul on fire. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, and this is the beautiful part, you don't need me for that. I just want to be that person that sparks the seed, that sparks the fire in your mind, so that you can go and burn down the foundations that were there. You can take the torch and burn down the foundations in your mind and rebuild yourself from the ashes. That's
Mm-hmm.
my goal. But I don't know your path. I don't know what you're supposed to be doing with your life. You only know that. But you only really know that on a subconscious level, not on a conscious level. But it takes a lot of, also it takes a lot of like removing blockages. Like, you got to remove the voices or the rhetoric in your head that said that you were not good enough to achieve the things that you dreamed of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was it that you wanted to do when you were a kid, when nobody told you you couldn't do anything, or you couldn't afford this, or you couldn't afford that? Like, before you had an idea of what it is that jobs really were, what did you think you wanted to do? I actually wanted to be a judge.
Really?
I wanted to be a judge so that I could oversee custody battles and make sure that children went home to the parents that they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very indicative of the place that my family was at the time, because that was, when my parents were going through their custody battle and all that stuff. But even still, that was so affected by my environment. So it's like, before that, I don't know what I would have wanted.
Mm.
I really don't know what I would have wanted. I can't think back far enough to that. Like, because that's the thing. Even when I was a child, like, I became depressed and sad so young. Like younger, like, when I asked my mom about I find it's younger than even I remember. I would have these days where I would just be listless. And there's nothing behind the eyes. Like, and then there were other days where it's like I can see pictures of myself when I was in like second, third grade, and there's a fire in my eyes. There's a light in my eyes. Like, there's something there. And then you see a picture of me in sixth grade, and there's no light.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing there. And it's like, I was really internalizing everything that was going on around me and taking that on as my personal responsibility, even as a child. And, you can say, oh, well, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that, but that's what fucking kids do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck who it is. Like, especially if you're the firstborn child, listen, let your parents be going through some
Yo.
shit and you find out about it, you're going to feel an obligation. You feel an obligation to your family to make sure that you hold things together. If things fall
Mm-hmm.
apart and you know about it, even if it's not your fault, you feel like it's your fault. You feel like there's something that you could have done to change it, even if there's not. And that's the problem about internalizing the actions and the behaviors of others, the choices of others. Like, you cannot internalize this shit.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody else makes a fuck up, that's their fuck up. If your dad cheated on your mom and she kicked him out while she was pregnant, listen, that's their problem. That's not
Mm-hmm.
your fucking problem. That's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if there's a custody battle because your mom and your dad were fighting and were fist fighting in public and like shit, and like now they got arrest records and all this shit, like, and now you got to watch your sister at your grandmother's house and she's sick, and like, Now you got to watch your siblings at your aunt and uncle's house, and you got to keep an eye out on your younger siblings because, that uncle it gives you weird vibes sometimes. And he just
Mm-hmm.
looked at you funny that one time and you just don't know. Like, now you're in situations like that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, those situations that you're in, especially as a child, I want to make it very clear that, like, when you end up in those situations as a child, like, that's not your fault. Like, you can't help what goes on with the adults around you outside, especially as a child. Like, don't let anybody make you feel guilty about certain things that went on when you were a child and you did not understand how to navigate those situations. Like, because sometimes we end up in situations where there is a choice, but we feel so guilted by that person that we don't think that we have a choice. And it sucks when you go through certain shit as a child. Like, it really does suck. But at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, you have to remember that you cannot go back and change anything. The past is the past. That person that did something to you, yes, they hurt you, but and they're responsible for hurting you. But healing is your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Healing is your responsibility. Like, you are the only person that can heal yourself. There's no closure that you can get from your assailant that is going to make you feel better. I promise you, you can get your assailant to cry crocodile tears in your fucking face, beg for your forgiveness, and apologize to you for 3 hours straight. I promise you, you are going to go home that night and it's going to feel like it wasn't even worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna feel like it wasn't even worth what it is that you went through to get there. Like, you're gonna feel like it just was empty, because that's not closure. Like, closure, the idea that people have of closure now, I really believe is a made up fantasy. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really get real closure out of people because people never react and respond in the ways that you want. That's what happens in TV shows, not in real life. Like, like, you can go to somebody that attacked you and be like, oh, I don't know why you did that. You could go to somebody that assaulted you when you were 8 years old and ask them why they did that. Because, of course, if you're 8 years old and that shit's happening, more times out of 10, that's a family member or somebody close to the family. So you're probably still gonna know that family members are around them at, an older age, which contributes to trauma. But
Mm-hmm.
you can ask them and they can give you exactly the list of reasons why they did it. Whether it's a good list or a bad list, whether they feel sorry for it or they don't, you're not gonna get any closure out of it. Even if they're sorry, you won't get closure out of it because you haven't dealt with the pain unless you have. If you dealt with the pain, then, it's not a problem. But if you haven't dealt with the pain, there's no closure in that. You're still going to feel that same feeling that you felt before.
Mm-hmm.
Only now it's going to be worse because your mind thinks that you should have been healed already. Your mind thinks that things should be better now because you know why. Knowing why is not enough. Like, you also have to, like, sorry, knowing why is not enough. You also have to heal. You also have to decide what it is that you want to do about it. Like, because that's the thing, if you fall out of a tree and break your leg, right, you're not about to just lay there and think that your leg's about to get fixed. Like, you're not about to lay there saying my leg is broken for 10 years and think that your leg is about to magically heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
No, what do you have to do? You got to get up. You got to have somebody help you up. If you can't help yourself up, you got to call for help. You got to go to the doctor. They got to, depending on how bad the break is or how bad the sprain is, they got to, put you in some fucking cast. They got to put you in some contraption. Maybe they got to put the boot on your foot. Like, you got some crutches, and now you got crutches, so now you can walk around and you can manage. But remember, the crutches are only that to help you manage. There's going to be a point where your legs are strong enough where you need to be able to walk on your own again. So you can't wait for the situation to resolve itself while you're on the ground, because it's not going to. It's just going to get worse. And then that's going to be like, okay, like, if you called for help and no help came, and you tried to help yourself and no help came, that's not your fault. Like, you did your best. If you
Mm-hmm.
do your best at the end of the day, if you stay true to your soul, if you did your best, honestly, fuck the rest.
Really.
Honestly. Because if I was genuine and honest, nobody can tell me that I should have done better. Honestly, go back and do better than me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do, we could talk about it. When you fuck up, we can talk about it then. But you can't think that just going to the doctor and putting the cast on and then doing all the shit that the doctor told you not to do and doing that anyway, you're gonna get fixed. No, you're not gonna heal that way. You can't think that just you can't think that, oh, if I go do this and I go do this, I go get up and I get help and I go to the doctor and I do this, like, and I go get my crutches. If you don't use your crutches, you may give yourself further damage, like you have to go through a whole healing process, like, and the crutches I feel like are necessary for some people need a wheelchair, some people need crutches, other people need a wheelchair, but at the end of the day you're gonna need to work those muscles in your legs anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so you might as well start walking, right? you know you might as well get that help. You might as well get somebody to come and help you out. I remember when I was in high school, and the people had to go up and down the stairs because sports kids were always getting injuries. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they'd get a pass to go leave class 5 minutes early and be 5 minutes late just in case, and they'd have somebody there help them hold their backpack while they took their crutches down the stairs. And crutches are hard to use, not even gonna hold you. Crutches are hard as fuck to use if you don't have a fucked up leg. Like, and that's where like crutches get dicey. Like, if you use like drugs or alcohol as a crutch, like if you're not actually like,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the thing, it's like, okay, we can argue semantics and say everything is bad, da 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 da, but honestly that's bullshit. I don't believe that. Like, I feel like everybody has to go through things the way that they need to go through things. As long as you're not hurting other people in the process, it's not really, I don't consider that bad or negative. I just think that that's you doing what you need to do for the situation that you're in. Um, so if you need to have a drink when you leave work because you're that stressed, or 3 drinks when you leave work, listen, just don't make a habit of it. If you're that stressed at your job, okay, so you have your drinks, you decompress, you smoke your little something, decompress, and okay, what do I want to do about it? You have to get proactive. You have to
Mm-hmm.
get proactive. You have to do something. Like, you can't just sit stagnant and expect things to change. Like, that's one thing. Stagnancy is like, I feel like that's a fate worse than death to me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's the reason why I can change. I'm actually gonna be successful. I'm actually gonna change. I'm actually gonna make something happen out of my life. Because at this point that I'm at right now, stagnancy is literally worse than death.
Right.
Give me growth or give me death,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Like, give me renewal. Give me give me ever growing change. Like, give me transformation on a cellular level. Like, give me change. I don't want to be stagnant. Stagnant is worse than death to me. Like, I'd rather die than be stagnant, just like I'd rather die than be somebody's slave. um
Mm-hmm.
but it's all in the mind. It's all about how you think. It's all about how you think about yourself, or how you think about the people around you. um and we can segue this into the victim. We're really almost a fucking hour in and we haven't even gotten to the second topic. Like,
Sheesh.
okay, but let's talk victim and abuser dynamics.
Mm.
So, I feel like there are a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Like, because the roles kind of, the appearance of the roles, not necessarily the roles themselves, but I feel like the appearance of the roles kind of kind of switch over time. It's like, you'll be in a situation and this person will be, I feel like, because abuse doesn't always start like, it usually does not start with a person just slapping you dead across the fucking face, like, just randomly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's usually something where they try to buy your loyalty. And this is why loyalty, that, like, that word has been freaking me out a little bit this week. Like, the last couple of weeks, the last month, loyalty and obligation, those words have been freaking me out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not what they mean to me, it's what they mean to the world. And I'm not sure that I want to participate in that.
Right.
Honestly, I don't know that I do, because it's like, okay, this person will come into your life. They will buy you presents. They will buy your affection, buy your time. They'll do this with you. They'll do that with you. They'll say, oh, well, I want you to do this for me if you love me. And then you'll feel obligated because they gave you so much or they did all these things for you. And it's like, okay, well, if you love me, you'll do this for me. Okay. So now you're doing it. And then they add more shit on top of it. And then they try to be like, oh, well, you didn't do it right. But it's okay. Oh, well, you didn't do it right. Like, it doesn't just start off with physical violence. Like, even if it's a non-physical situation, like, oftentimes it starts out as psychological. You create a dependency, you create a need, you know? You go to someone who never met you a day in their life. You find out about them. You pick up their insecurities, their deep-seated beliefs, their thoughts, their desires, what it is that drives them. And then you fit in to every single need that they have and make it seem like they don't need anybody else. They don't need anything else. You got them covered with this, you got them covered with this, you got them covered with this. And now
Mm-hmm.
this is where shit gets dicey because it's like this looks a lot like just a friendly person, just like a good relationship. Like, why is this person so nice? Because there are people who are that nice out there. I'm one of these people, but there are people who are this nice out there, and there are also people who use that kind of tactic to fuck you over.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you got to really figure out which one it is because for me personally, my friends can come and go as they please. Like you can hang out with other people. I don't care. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I might fake jealous for like 2 seconds, but honestly, I'll get over it. Like, I mean, like, what am I gonna do if you don't hang out with me for 2 days? I'm gonna take a fucking nap. Like,
Facts.
like, I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna go come home, take a nap, wake up the next morning, because that's how my naps go sometimes. Wake up the next morning, go to work again, probably come back, go to the gym. Still not responding. Okay, I'll go to bed. Like, it's firework. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Um,
Uh,
um, is it
listen.
fireworks or gunshots? Southside edition.
It's not my fucking good. Yo.
Yo, I completely forgot what I was talking about. I know I was talking about victims and abusers, but I forgot what
How people
aspect.
can like hide under the shroud of kindness to fuck you over and just use
Yeah,
you.
and it's like that's the thing. Like people can take that and they will use that to their advantage to say, "Well,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you don't trust me because I've done all these things for you,"
Oh
or
my
"I don't know
god.
why you think that you need anybody else because I've done all these things for you. I can't believe that you don't love me because I've done all these things for you and you haven't done enough for me." Like even if you've done everything for this person, like they'll still make it seem like you haven't done enough for them. But
Mm-hmm.
in reality, I mean, to be honest, by their definition, you probably haven't. But by your definition, you've given a lot. And that's the point where you have to stop and evaluate. You really want to stop and evaluate. Like, look at things in real terms. Like, look at the energy exchange. And then look at what people's means are. Because that's the thing. Like, let's say, for example, you got somebody who's rich. Maybe they get paid like listen, maybe they get just random direct deposits that are $800 every fucking Monday morning. Like, okay. So if you take on a little bit more of X responsibility, it's fine because I'll take on a little bit of Y responsibility because I don't make as much money, but I can do this. I don't do this very well, but I can do this. You know, there's active give and take. But if you see that there's active give and take, but you're giving more and they're taking more over time and they're giving less over time, and you say something and they try to flip it back around on you,
Yo, that shit is crazy. That shit is fucking crazy.
like it's a lot of relationships. And that's why like you really have to evaluate like how much are you giving more than you can,
Mm-hmm.
because the tactic here is, and this is the tactic that a lot of abusers will use, it's like they'll try to make it seem like it's your fault that they're not satisfied with what's going on in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've been doing everything in your power and they hit you with a, oh, well, I'm bored with this, why don't we do this? Because, I feel like I've done so much for you, and I feel like, you need to do a little bit more for me. You need to show me more. You need to do more for me. Like, yo, wait a minute. I'm giving to you on a level that matches yours.
Mm-hmm.
If you're giving to somebody on a level that matches yours, that if you and somebody else are giving to each other on equal levels, and they try to tell you that you're not doing enough for them, honestly, at this point, run. Like, honestly,
Yo.
at this point, if you're doing your best, run.
Because
Like,
they're a leech.
they're like, literally, like, they have to figure that shit out for themselves. Like, you can't siphon off of other people's energy constantly, like,
Mm-hmm.
and leech off of other people's energy on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. Like, it's just, I don't know.
You have to leave them, and especially when it comes to people you have close relationships with, you have to understand that like when you're giving them so much and it's still not enough, like they have to figure out for themselves why they're still so miserable. Like,
Because it's within them. Like,
mm-hmm.
the issue is not gonna be resolved outside. It's like, listen, if you have a friend and you go and you two decide to go on a diet together, it doesn't matter how much exercising that you do by yourself. If they're not exercising enough, they're not going to lose weight. They can't make it seem like it's your fault and the diet doesn't work for them because you wrote it up wrong when they're not working out as much as you.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's your fault. Like, you messed up something. You did not do something right. You didn't figure out what it is that you needed to do properly. So now you're trying to make it seem like it's my fault that you're not matching up to the results that I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just one of these things where it's like people will try to make you feel guilty for the fact that their life is not going the way that they want it to. That people will try to make you feel guilty for the fact that you're doing better than they are.
Mm-hmm.
People will try to make you feel guilty if you it's so crazy how sometimes people will try to be like, oh yeah, no, it's fine, when you'll go and you tell them like, listen, I got some shit I gotta go handle. But it's like every 2 seconds now they're tight because you're not spending enough time with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, every 2 seconds you're getting like another text message, another call, another email, another voicemail talking about some, oh, you're so ungrateful, this, that, and the third, da da da. Like, I can't believe you would do this, I can't believe you would do that, this, that, and the third. Like, you'll get just the whole gambit, like how you're not a good friend, how you're not a good person, how literally, like, you'll just get the whole fucking gambit from them,
Mm-hmm.
not doing shit. Like, you'll just be living your life. Like,
Yo,
some people
literally.
will try to make you feel guilty for the fact that you don't have time for them while you're getting your shit together. Like, don't, like, yo, listen, refuse and reject every bit of guilt that other people try to put on you. That shit
Mm-hmm.
is low vibrational. Like, that shit is
Mm-hmm.
so low vibrational. Like, that is supposed to keep you in the 3D when we're moving into the 5D right now. Like, we don't have time for this shit. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
time for anybody to try to make me feel guilty about their shortcomings. Like, I'm sorry, that's your problem, not mine. I don't care if you feel some type of way about it at this point. That's your problem. That's your responsibility. Your feelings are your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Your emotional state is your responsibility. Your mental health is your responsibility. Your physical health is your responsibility. Because if I go to the gym 5 days a week, it's not going to make you lose weight. If I go and I'm doing binaural beats meditations every night before I go to bed, because I really do that every fucking night before I go to bed. Like, if I'm doing subconscious work, if I'm working on my inner child, that's not going to affect you. Like, you have to do that work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put in that effort. Like, and if you are lost, you can't figure out what you want to do, and you're looking at this and you're trying to give excuses, and you're trying to give excuse after excuse after excuse as to why you don't think you need to change, yo, we all need to change. Like, I'm changing right now. Like, I'm like, we're all changing. Like, we're all growing. Like, once you stop growing, you start dying. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
realize that, right? Like, once you stop growing, once your cells stop replenishing, like, once cellular expansion is done, that's when death starts to creep up. Like, what's the word? There's a word for that. Like, what's the word? You took that. What class was that? I don't recall. But it was like, what's the word for? Yo, all this money I spent on college courses, I didn't learn shit. But what's that? What's the word for when your muscles, not muscles, because that's atrophy. What's the word for when your body parts start to degenerate? Like, there's a word for, I think it starts with an S, or it has an S, like a prominent S in it. But it's like, it's when, it's that state where your body starts to break down over, like, as you get older in age. I don't remember.
I would almost say senile, but I don't think that's what that is.
Yeah, I don't know either. But it's like, after a certain amount of time, you're gonna start to realize that, like, shit's not working. Like, shit's broken down and shit's not working. Like, what do you want to do about it, you know? At the end of the day, it's just, what do you want to do about the shit that's not working? Like, this is why I feel like every time I talk it's so disjointed, because it's like I try to put so much information. uh, okay, but long story short, if you're not growing, you're dying, basically.
Pretty much.
If you're not growing, you are, if your cells are not regenerating, if they're not moving towards growth and expansion, then you are moving in the opposite direction. There is no standstill with the human body. There is no standstill with the human body. There is no stagnancy with the human body. There is no stagnancy with the human body. Like, there's none. It is either life or death, and the body is moving on an axis, moving toward, further towards one or the other on any given day. So it's really a choice of what it is that you put in your body, what it is that you put in your mind, what it is that you feed your soul. And then, the body is set to die at a certain point because the body understands that it has to die. But there is really no set thing saying that with science we can't live forever, because cells are meant to regenerate, you know. But that's stem cell research. That's something else entirely. Like, I feel like I was just getting a download for a second. Like, my head, dramatic ass. But victim abuser. Okay, with the role of a victim, remember, it is a role. The role of abuser, remember, it is a role. Roles are played by actors. Roles are not identities. Even identities can be constantly changed. Don't feel like you are stuck in any role or position just because of what have you. At any point, you can make a change and wake up one day and decide that enough is enough, you know? And, but the thing is, you have to get rid of fear. Like, it has to be to a point where literally, like, you don't give a fuck. Like, you have no fear in your body anymore because you're so sick of where it is that you are. Like, and it's sad that it has to get to that point for a lot of people, but it really does have to get to that point. Like, you have to be fed up. Like, you have to be sick and tired of where you are. Like, you really have to wake up one day and be like, yo, I really don't want to live like this anymore. Like, I can't live like this anymore. And at that point, that's when you create change. That's when you get up and call your friend who's halfway across the country and you're like, oh, you know this person I've been with is abusing me. And then then you have a game plan, and you're out of the state in the next 3 days. Like, that's how stuff like that happens. Like, you wake up and you make a choice and you say, I don't want to do this. you know but every day that you wake up and you live in fear, you're choosing to live in fear. It's not, the thing is, of course there are consequences for every action that you do and don't take, but the thing is, at a certain point, the consequences are going to be damned. It's a matter of what you want to do, because you, either way, as a human being, until we get to the point where stem cell research is, decriminalized, and not decriminalized, but like, is, what is the word I'm looking for, is more acceptable in society. I can't remember words right now, but until stem cell research and things of that nature are more acceptable in society, it's very unlikely that we're going to have people who are living for 1,000-year periods like the Bible says and shit. So you're going to die anyway. So, whose terms do you want to die on? This person who says they love you but puts their hands on you every day, or this person that says they love you but puts you in situations where you're getting fucked over every day, where you're being energetically and monetarily drained every day, where your
Mm-hmm.
life force is being drained out of you every day, where you don't feel safe, where you can't feel like you're secure in any given moment, like that's draining the peace out of you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you want to let them decide what term you live and die on? Okay, that's a choice. Remember, that's a choice. You chose that. You chose to stay in that. You don't choose what other people do to you, but you choose what you tolerate. You choose what you accept. You
Mm-hmm.
choose what you stay in. In every situation, in any circumstance, there's always a choice. you know Even if the alternative is something that you really don't prefer, you know there's still a choice there. And for me personally, I don't know, maybe it's because of the person I am. I'm a very passionate person, and I'm very much like, listen, my life on my terms or bust. Like, yo, I'll restart, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not, I feel like my entire depressive phase was me mourning everything that I was going to lose, and all of the life that I was going to lose. I really feel like that was my mourning period, because I haven't been in mourning since. Like, I don't really feel like I've been in mourning. Like, I've been feeling shit. Like people have walked out of my life, no tears,
Mm.
like no tears, no. Okay, I'll process it, I'll think about it, I'll talk about it, I'll get it out of my system, but I'm not crying any tears. Like, I haven't cried tears over another person outside of myself in a while. But like, well, I did it earlier today, but it's like, that's a choice of energy for me. It's a choice to do certain things. Like, it's a choice to understand what it is that's going on with your relationship with another person and decide to give them that energy. you
Mm-hmm.
know but tears are a tricky thing, because it's like, it works differently for everybody. A lot of people use that as a form of release. I understand that a lot of people use that as a form of release. That's personally not me, but you know what can you do? um anyway, yeah, some people use that as a form of release. I just, you know I'm not a crier like that anymore. I used to cry a lot. Like, I really feel like I used to be in mourning. Like, I was mourning something. I don't know what I was mourning at the time, because I didn't really know, but right now I feel like I'm in a place where I've mourned all the relationships that are ever, all of the people that are ever going to leave me. I've already mourned your loss. So you can come and go as you please at this point,
Mm-hmm.
because either way I'm going to be on my path. So you may go and you may come back, and I may not be in the same area, the same situation that you left me in. If the love is there with you, it's probably there with me too. But if you're not meant to be in my life, like, you're just not gonna, and that's okay. I've already mourned your loss. I appreciate the love that you gave. I appreciate the times that we spent. I appreciate the love that I gave to you. Like, I appreciate our bond, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Nothing changes. Nothing really changes the love that's there, other than situations, like, other than people's reactions and responses. Like, that's when shit gets dicey again. But I feel like we all could really learn something from a slightly detached perspective of, you know the people I love at one point are all going to be dead. Like, let's call a spade a spade. It's an uncomfortable thought to have, but that's really what it is. The people that we all care about and love and nourish and nurture so much, they're all going to be dead at a certain point. And we can choose to be upset about that now, or we can choose to love and nourish and cherish every single moment that we spend with that person. We can choose to exist in the moment with that person and nourish them and cherish them and make sure that they know that they're loved, so they never have a question of that. you know and for me, I feel like that's what I do with my family now. I make sure to tell my mom every day that I love her, just in case, because people are my mom's not even 50 yet, but people have lost their moms a lot younger. you
Mm-hmm.
know God forbid anything happens to my mom, like, she knows I love her. She knows I care about her. you know she knows I'd be able to keep up after she's gone. Like, she understands that. you know I feel like I've prepared for that with a lot of people. I had to prepare for that for a lot of people, with a lot of people, because it's like I felt that it was coming, you know? There are going to be ends and deaths to relationships all the time, but it's like the end of a relationship is not the end of you, you know? The end of a relationship is not the end of your life. It's just the end of that cycle. It's just the end of that season. But nothing's really over, you know? There is a lesson learned. You don't mourn, you know, finishing a semester of college because you learned your lessons. You passed your tests, did your exams, wrote your papers, and you're done. Lesson learned. Now you can apply that to the next subject in the next, you know, if you actually learn anything, you can apply that to the next semester and move accordingly from there and use your knowledge as a foundation to build up from there. But, you know, you didn't lose anything by leaving the class. You never lost anything because that textbook, if you didn't finish it in the course, you can still read that outside of class. You know, you don't need to be in class to read that book. Like, you don't need to be in class to understand more about that topic. Like, you don't have to be with somebody to nurture them and to love them. Like, you can love them from a distance, you can love them from afar. You know, you can have a more detached perspective and still show them love and affirmations and words of love. You can still show them love. Like, you can still be love to that person, even if it's not in the way that they may expect or they may want. Because at the end of the day, we also have to realize and remember, like, we're all on different paths. You know, we're all on different paths, and our paths are going to intermingle and intertwine, and, you know, our paths are going to be perpendicular in some areas, parallel in other areas. They're going to be entwined in other areas, and they're going to go in completely separate directions in other areas. You and your friend may be both growing upward, like vines. You may both be growing upward, but you may be a couple of feet away from each other. And, you know, you may have a crossing point that intertwines and intertwines and intertwines for a couple of feet, and then you may go in completely separate directions. And that's still growth. The connection is still there. You don't have to be, you don't have to be tied down in the same direction as someone, because maybe their direction is not the direction you should be going in. Maybe their path is not your path. Maybe going down their path is what's going to end your life prematurely, you know? But we don't really think about that. Like, how much do we think about that? Like, what if the people that you're around, you're only supposed to be around, again, for a certain set reason? Because you all are dealing with similar issues. Like, you all have this similar problem. You're going through this similar issue together. Like, you're figuring out this issue together. Like, you're figuring out this, you're figuring out that, you're doing this, you're doing that. Like, and then you cycle through all those issues. And then a lot of the time what you'll start to find is, as you grow, your interests change, and as your interests change, that's where everything else starts to change. That's where, when your interests change, that's where things start to go, people start to drift apart. Because, if you want to go to a paint and sip and your friend wants to go to fucking WWE, and that's their new obsession, and your new obsession is the paint and sip, and neither of you want to go to the other one, but you have other people in your life that want to go with you to go with each one of you to those events, like, it's very easy to fall into a habit of spending time with other people instead, because they're more in line with where your path is going right now, and there is nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, the bond is still there, but it may not be at the same level that it was. And again, that is okay, because the person may not have the information that you require in that situation. Again, you can be there for somebody who you met in second fucking grade, and you can be on completely different paths. Like, you can have completely different mentalities. Like, you can have, I hate when cops pull up and all right, we're about to move. I don't have time for this man to be asking me any questions. We're about to cut through in this bitch. before I go somewhere else. I hate that. Fuck. I hate when this happens because I can't remember what I was saying. Such a brat. Forgot to turn my lights on.
We're talking about. Oh, growing apart from your friends,
Yes.
being aligned with your purpose.
Yeah. So it's fine to grow apart from your friends. Like, you're not supposed to keep the same group of friends your entire life. Like, come on. Some people can, but at a certain point you're going to start to realize like the things that you relate over are not the same. Like, a lot of the time we start to realize that those relationships that we keep, we're not even keeping them because we want to, like, because we actively relate to these people. It's just because we feel that obligation, you know. Oh, well, I've always been there for you, or this person's always been there for me, or this person's always been there, always been there, always been there. Like, listen, I can tell you right now, I've always been there, quote unquote, for a lot of people, and I'm sorry, they don't have space in my life because I'm growing faster than they can keep up with, and that's okay. You know, sometimes your friends around you are going to be growing at a slower pace than you. Sometimes they're going to be growing at a faster rate than you. You know, the ones that are growing quickly, take notes from them. Take notes, understand what it is, what lessons it is that they're learning, what lessons it is that they can teach you, and then move accordingly. And then for the one, if they don't like the advice, tell them, well, listen, that's what I got. So what's up? Should I park right here?
Might as well.
Yeah. Fuck it. All right. But yeah, growing apart from your friends is not bad, and that's been our TED talk.
Basically.
No, I just, I feel like growing apart from people is such a tricky subject because nobody really wants to grow apart from the people that they call their friends, you know? Like, if you're close to somebody in high school or middle school or elementary school, or you grew up on the same block or whatever, like, it's hard, you know? If you spend a lot of your formative years, especially around certain people, it's very hard to look at them and realize that you two may not have the same bond that you used to. But the thing is, like, and what I've learned the hard way, it's very important to give space to those people before it becomes a toxic situation, because it will. Listen, you think you can hold on to that shit for 20, 20, 30, 45 years, like, and you both are not growing and giving each other the space to grow and doing certain things, like, it's gonna turn toxic. Like, especially if you've gotten used to each other with a certain behavior. If you guys bond over one specific thing, or if you two bond over one specific behavior, or you go out and do this one specific thing, or a couple of specific things, as soon as your interests change, as soon as the interests of both of you change, like, you'll start to explore and examine and understand different parts of yourself. Like, and as you start to understand different parts of yourself and explore different parts of yourself, you may find very quickly that they're not in alignment with the people that you're around all the time, or that you've been around. You may try out a new style of music because, you heard it at work, this new song, and now you're listening to a completely different album, and now this person doesn't like it. Okay, that's a simple change. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't seem like anything important. But okay, so the change goes from there. Like, okay, so now it's an album. Now it's a couple of albums. Now it's the music you play in your car. Now they don't want to ride around in your car if you're playing that music. Now we got a problem. Like, over literally just music in a car. And then, you can take it a step further. Like, it goes further from there. It's like the people you're around. Like, maybe you go and you hang out with a group of your coworkers one day, and you go out to a club or something, and you have a good ass time. You go with your best friend of 15 years, and then all of a sudden it's a fucking problem as soon as you go inside the club. Like, all of a sudden there's problems starting. All of a sudden you're getting a text saying, hey, can we go? Like, what? I just got here. You agreed to come with me. So now you got to figure out what it is that you want to do, if you want to leave your coworkers or if you want to go with your friend. And it's like, obligation will tell you go with your friend, but you invited them out because you wanted to go out and have a good time. Like, it's not really fair to either party if they come out and they're having a panic attack because that's just not their fucking scene, or if you come out and you have to go home early now because this person did not realize that they were not going to be as comfortable in the scenarios they thought they were because they wanted to come out for you. And it's like, you guys, like, we don't have to do that shit. Like, don't do shit you're not comfortable with just to keep your friends happy. Because your friends, if they're really your friends, they wouldn't, if you tell them you don't want to do something because that's just not for you, they'll respect it. They might jab at you a little bit. They might roast you for a quick second and a half. Like, which friends don't, to be honest? Like, but at the end of the day, they're not gonna shame you for making choices or doing things that you want to do as opposed to things that you don't want to do. Like, if you don't want to do something, like, you really just don't want to go and do something, they'll just be like, all right, well, we'll catch you another time. But if they make a problem out of it, like, that's suspect. I'm sorry, that's suspect. I'm sorry, it's suspect. It's like, okay, why is there a problem where there was no problem before? And it's not like some of these problems, they're not like, when I mean by a problem where there was no problem, it's like, it's not a problem where it would have came about naturally anyway. It's a problem that, like, you guys had to be in a situation and somebody had to really get in their feelings. Ooh, I'm on 20%. Ooh. Like, you had to be in a situation and somebody really had to have their feelings and their ego stand out above their sense and their understanding of the bounds of the relationship. And but yeah, once you understand a lot more, you start to realize, like, where your relationships are and which ones you should be really I mean, not which ones you should nurture, because I feel like, you want to nurture all of your relationships, but it's having a sense of to what extent. You don't have to be best friends with everybody that you meet. You don't have to get super close to everybody you meet. And even everybody that you meet and you get super close to, you don't have to stay close to. Like, you're not obligated to do anything for the people that you're around except for to, just love. Like, just be love. Like, that's it. I feel like the only obligation the only thing that you owe to the people around you is to be love. That's it. But even that, then, like, you really owe yourself that more than anything. So, who's really winning here? Everybody. My God, I had such, like, positive formulated thoughts. I gotta start making lists before I do these videos. I really don't want to, but I probably should, of, like, the talking points of what I want to talk about, because I stay forgetting shit halfway through saying it. But yeah, basically, loyalty is a scam, the biggest scam of all time, just by definition. Make sure that if you are going to be loyal to somebody, or if you are going to be obligated to somebody, because essentially that's what loyalty is, it's just obligation. It's just constant, consistent devotion to, or what was the other word? A something.
Allegiance.
Allegiance, there we go. Or allegiance to a person that you're subservient to, or an idea, or a cause. If you're going to be that, be very, very mindful and aware of exactly what it is that means, you know? Because you may be for it for a second, but once you get into the nitty gritty of it, you may not be as happy. It's the same thing with, like, joining the military. You hear all these things about, oh, VA benefits, and, oh, you can go do this, you're gonna travel the world, and you're gonna have your education paid for and all that. Like, oh, that's cute. Like, that's real cute. Like, that's nice and all, but, if you actually have to, even if you're a medic and you have to go on the battlefield and you gotta watch the people that you went overseas with, the men that you struggled with, the men and women that you struggled with, like, you gotta treat their injuries and watch them die. Nobody tells you about that. Like, that's the shit you gotta either understand going into it, or you learn that shit the hard way when you're in it. Like, nobody tells you the sick feeling that you feel when you gotta watch your best friend that you've had in, a foreign country where you don't even know the language. You gotta treat a gunshot wound that he's got to his fucking neck, and you're watching this man bleed out, knowing damn well he's got a family at home. Like, nobody tells you about that part because that's not the savory part, but that's the reality. So when you're being loyal to that, that's what's required of you. So be very mindful of what you're obligating your time to, what you're obligating yourself to, like what your loyalty, where your loyalty lies. You feel me? I feel like loyalty should be to self first, and then give love to others. That's where I'm at right now. It may change. I'm ever changing. So my thoughts and opinions may change, but this is me taking everybody along the journey with me because fuck it. You know, we all got to learn at some point. I may not have all the answers, but if you have an answer that you feel is better, comment it down below. But if you try to tell me that being loyal and obligated to people is, the right way to love, I'm sorry, it's not. It's
It's
just
not.
not. Like, I'm sorry, it's not. Like, the obligation that I feel to people is not healthy. Like, feeling obligated to people is not healthy. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
really not healthy. Like, the loyalty thing, like, it's an ideal. It's an ideal. In an ideal world, it would be very easy to be that way with people. But the problem is, like, there is no like there's no real balance when we're working with people. Like there is a balance, an equal balance that works for you guys, but there's no real balance. There's no reciprocity on a macro scale. Like, it's very difficult because at the end of the day you can give something to a person, and you can give and give and give and give and give and give, and they can be giving back to you. But if hard times hit them and you guys end up in an argument or some shit because you're in your feelings that they're not giving enough to you because they're trying to figure out their financial situation or their emotional situation or their dating life, all of the above at the same damn time, and you're mad that you're not getting enough attention, it's just like, okay, at the end of the day, you kind of just have to move according to what's going on in your life. You can't get caught up in what people are or are not doing for you. You can't get caught up in what people do or do not say to you. What people do and don't do for you is just, it's just like, okay, but what are you doing for yourself? You know? What are you creating for yourself? What goals are you achieving for yourself? Like, how did you pave your own way? How did you make your own way out of no way? Like, what did you do for you? And then when you answer that, you know, you have to figure out how much of this that I'm doing for myself is this person putting into. Like, if they're not putting jack shit into it, then honestly, what does it matter? Like, go live your life, go do your shit, go do what you have to do, go fulfill your dreams, go fulfill your goals, like, go fulfill your ambitions, go do what you gotta do. Because at the end of the day, that's what's most important. And that's not saying that you can't have companions along the way. So I have a lot of wonderful people around me, and I love and appreciate every one of them. But at the same time, it's like there's no obligation. And my friend, you want to get dropped off?
Hmm?
You want to get dropped off?
Not right now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not obligated to stay with me. You know that.
Oh,
But you already know that because you told me before, oh, I want to go home and I'll drop you off. Like,
very true.
okay. It's like it's no big deal. The only obligation that I feel is like if I pick up my friend, I'm gonna drop her off. Like, unless she wants to get a ride from somebody else because I'm drunk and puking, but that's something different. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we should end the live here because it's like it's an hour and a half, and bitch, I could keep talking. Like, this is about to be my thing. Like, hour and a half long lives where I'm just rambling. But like one of these days, I'm gonna have more than just one person on it at a given time. Soon, maybe the next one, I'll have more than one person on at a given time, and we can start an actual conversation. So it's not just us talking and rambling and forgetting what we said. Listen, what we're gonna get to the point where when I do these lives by myself, I'm gonna ask what was I talking about, and somebody's gonna reply in the comments what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yo, in the live.
In the live,
In the
bitch. Because
live.
I'm only recording live videos because I don't have a camera and listen, universe, if you want to give me a camera and a laptop with perfect editing software, please drop that shit in my lap. Send it, my address, ship it to my house, leave it on my front step or the side step, it doesn't matter. Um, but, there are other things that I need to spend my money on right now first. And, after that, maybe we'll think about a camera and setup and stuff like that. But for right now, I just bought a fucking iPhone, so this camera better fucking
Yo, facts.
this camera better suffice. And then, I mean, but I record half of my videos in the dark anyway. Like,
Yo.
yo, half of my videos are in the dark anyway, so it doesn't even matter the camera quality, bitch. This could be a fucking Nokia camera. You wouldn't tell the difference.
Bitch.
Dark is dark, sis. Like, dark is dark. Alright, but lights. That's all we have for you today.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we have for you today. Do you have anything else to say, Tara? Anything to add to that? You are more than welcome to add on to anything that I said.
I would say, with all the wisdom that both you and I provided, you guys also have your own thoughts and opinions, and think for yourself, please, not the hive mind of what we were discussing. Think for yourself and formulate your own opinions and comment them, because why not?
Yeah, because we're interested. We want to start a discussion. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like we don't, because that's the thing, the only real growth happens when people discuss the things that are going on around them and analyze it from different perspectives. So between the two of us, there are two different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Our perspectives change on a regular basis because we're unlearning things from our youth, from our childhood, from previous lives, I feel like sometimes.
Definitely.
But we're unlearning certain root things and behaviors, and we're learning new things. But the thing about learning new territory, because we're basically taking society's mold, throwing that away, and rebuilding. The thing with that is that you have to look at it from so many different angles in order to really discern if that's truly for you. So, even the things that we process through now, 10 years in the future, we may not feel the same way about it. A
Mm-hmm.
month from now, we may not feel the same way about it because we're getting information, we're getting downloads, we're getting like all of these upgrades, like all of this information, all of this moving into the 5D, like it's creating change, internal change. Your mind changes, your thought process changes. So, it is okay to not be the same every 2 days, like every 2, 3 days. Like it is okay if who you are changes every week. Because hi, that's me too. Like who I am
Mm-hmm.
changes every week. Like if you knew me a year ago, I promise you don't know me now. Like
Yo.
I promise you don't know me now at all. Like people who saw me 2 years ago last and see me now, they see two completely different people. Like I'm a
Mm-hmm.
completely different person than who I was. I feel like I die and I'm reborn every fucking week. Like I really feel like that. Like I don't feel the same every week. Like I'll come in contact. I feel like you don't feel the same every time I see you. Like you feel like a different person every time I see
Yo,
you, but
it
like in a
does.
good way.
It does shift and it does change, definitely.
But I love it, because it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's how we know we're growing.
Yeah.
That's how we know that change is actually taking place. Like we're not just bullshitting. We're not just sitting around burning sage and Palo Santo and wasting money in the fucking crystal
Bitch.
shop.
Yeah.
Bitch, I remember we went to the crystal shop and I got a $50 gift for the first time.
Yo.
Spend $50 and get this.
Get the aura cords, like,
Like, bruh.
bruh,
Like,
bruh.
honestly. Like, one of these days, I saw the $100 gifts that were out. I didn't really look at them that deep because I was just like, no, no, I'm not trying to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
one of these days, I know that's going to happen. So I'm going to go through all the gifts. I'm going to get all the gifts that they have at that.
Why not? Yo, they have some gorgeous stuff there. Angel aura
Oh my
quartz. Oh my
gosh.
god.
I got some pyrite for my sister. I got her some
Yes.
black tourmaline too.
Okay, that's good.
Yes, because she needed it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got her some jet,
A.
and there's something else. I got myself some ivory jasper. I gotta look up the meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, it's like at least we know we're changing. At least we know we're growing. Like, and I feel like it's healthy to have self doubt sometimes, but only in the sense that but not self doubt as in like, can I do this or not? But it's self doubt in the sense that, should I do this? Is
Mm-hmm.
this morally right for me? You know, rework your moral code as well, because a lot of the time we're working with a moral code that's not even ours. Like what the fuck is that?
Very true.
I can't work with my grandmother's moral code in my body because I'm sorry, that's not gonna work.
Mm-hmm. Literally.
Like, I'm literally gonna go to prison. Go to prison and be fucking sexually frustrated. Like, honestly, I can't do it. I can't. Like, it's just not gonna work. Like, it really just would not work. So I took on my own moral code. It's still in the works, you know? And with every new thing, with every old thing, with everything that triggers me, I try to look at that again. Damn, my stomach's growling. I should probably go home and eat soon. But I try to look at that and say, okay, well, what do I want to do about this? Let me see. Ooh, back where I started.
Yelling.
uh, all right, but we gotta end this live because I'm on 12% and I still have to go home and I have to pee. But I'm gonna wait till I go home. So bye, guys.
Later.
We'll see you in another video. I don't know when it'll be, but it'll be at some point.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any ideas of comments, questions, comments, concerns,
Subcerns as well.
subs.
That's what the typing bar below is for. All of
Listen,
it. All of it.
let me know. Turn on your notification bell. Like,
Mm-hmm.
comment, and subscribe. Turn on your notification bell so you can get notified when I go live. So we can have actual fucking discussions instead of me just rambling with my friend here.
With my occasional input.
Listen, with your very well thought out input, because I'm just like a toast.
Yo.
The bread could have made a choice to jump out of your hand. It decided to become toast. I gotta stop laughing so loud.
Yo.